first pick. That would be Monero. Now, for some of you who've been following this channel, you'll have seen me cover this privacy coin a number of times. That's because, apart from having the most cutting-edge cryptography protocols on the market, it also stands for something much more fundamental: financial freedom. Truly anonymous peer-to-peer digital cash, Satoshi's vision. Now, it's a pretty well-established crypto that's been around for about 6 years now. However, it's been in the news quite a lot recently, and that's because of who has it in their sights. That's right. The powers that be are not too happy about pure financial freedom after all. I'm talking prosecutors, regulators, and other large enforcement agencies with 3-letter acronyms. You know the ones. It's therefore pretty clear that Monero has some damn powerful enemies. So, you may be wondering how on earth I can put it on my list. Well, one man's meat is another man's poison. I take the view that this intense focus by these agencies shows that they view Monero privacy-enhancing technology as a threat that they struggle to control. This can only mean that it's working as intended. And despite having so much thrown at it by all of these players, they've still not been able to crack the encryption and de-anonymize users. Yes, CipherTrace has developed a patent that helps to track transactions, but this is purely a probabilistic approach. It uses well-known techniques in transaction clustering to hone in on likely address flows, but it's far from cracking the algorithm. But apart from this, there are a number of other reasons as to why I'm so bullish on Monero. Firstly, as mentioned, the privacy tech is unrivaled. I can't go into the weeds here as it's a rabbit hole that we won't easily climb out of. However, feel free to watch my previous video on Monero if you want to explore it more. That's in the top right corner over here. Secondly, this tech is constantly evolving as the developers work to harden the protocol and secure its privacy. And speaking of those devs, they are some of the most hardcore cypherpunks in the crypto space. A broader collective of idealistic individuals, all driven by their goal of preserving financial freedom. I should also point out that all funding for R&D on the Monero network is coming from the community, no outside interests. Another reason why I'm more bullish on Monero than other privacy coins is because it has the highest liquidity among them. This is despite the fact that exchanges have been put under pressure on privacy by default coins like Monero. The fact of the matter is that Monero is still a damn popular cryptocurrency. There will always be a market for it and an exchange willing to service it. And even if the centralized exchanges make it difficult to use Exchange XMR, decentralized alternatives will eventually fill the breach. That's because one of the most promising community-funded R&D programs that are being worked on right now is XMR BTC atomic swaps. This will allow users to easily exchange their Monero for Bitcoin and vice versa, cross-chain. A seamless bridge from where the all-seeing eye reigns to where it is blind. I should also note that Monero is actually one of the more decentralized proof-of-work cryptocurrencies. This is because of a number of changes that were made to its mining algorithm. As you'll no doubt know, centralization is one of the biggest risks to a distributed system. For example, there are a number of fears around the centralization of Bitcoin's mining hash rate in China. This is something that I covered in a previous video, which I've linked to below, should you want more info. Finally, I'm bullish on Monero because of the state of the world. If there's one theme that's emerged this year, is that privacy is under assault. From anti-encryption bills to mandatory exchange reporting requirements. From the elimination of cash to the launch of central bank digital currencies. As more people realize that these freedoms are being rug pulled from under them, they will gravitate to solutions that preserve said freedoms. So, that was Monero. On to the next pick. And that would be Algorand. Now, we all know that there's a hell of a lot of hype around smart contract blockchains. Heck, you need look no further than the excitement around Ethereum 2.0. It's one of the reasons that it makes up such a big chunk of my portfolio. However, one size does not fit all, and it won't be a matter of winner takes all. That's why it could be wise to diversify in your allocation to other developer-friendly blockchains. There are a lot of promising networks out there, but Algorand is one of the more intriguing, which has been on my radar for quite some time. Let's start with a bit of an overview. Algorand is a blockchain that has actively set out to solve the pretty well-known blockchain trilemma. More specifically, they want to develop a blockchain that is scalable, secure, and decentralized. How they plan to achieve this is down to their highly performant consensus mechanism. It's called pure proof of stake. The main benefit of this is that Algorand's technology finalizes blocks in seconds and provides immediate transaction finality while preventing forks. I can't go into all of the Algorand tech right here, but if you want all the juicy details, then be sure to watch my recent video on it. So then, why am I bullish on Algorand? Well, let's start from the top, and I mean right at the top. The team behind this project are like a who's who of cryptography. It's comprised of some of the smartest brains in the field from universities like MIT. Fun fact, the founder is a professor called Silvio Micali, who is actually famous for first conceiving zero-knowledge proofs. Yep, that fundamental technology you hear about from so many cryptocurrency projects. He actually won a Turing Award for his work on this. But it's not just brain power backing the project, it also has a lot of capital. Algorand actually has a separate VC arm that has raised a lot of funding specifically for the incubation and adoption of projects building on Algorand. You can think of it as analogous to Consensus for Ethereum or Emergo on Cardano. This Algorand entity has already incubated a number of projects, and as we know, adoption is key to utility demand for a blockchain. And speaking of adoption, it was recently announced that the USDC stablecoin has been integrated into the Algorand blockchain. This means that USDC users will be able to send the stablecoin on the Algorand network cheaper and faster than would be done on Ethereum, for example. It's also no secret that USDC is becoming the de facto stablecoin globally. For example, you had the recent monumental news that Visa would be offering USDC settlement to all its 60 million merchants. All of this transaction demand will need a super fast and efficient blockchain to be settled on. All of this transaction demand on Algorand will, of course, naturally lead to a demand to pay for the transactions, which are paid in algo. Oh, and while we're on the subject of utility demand for the blockchain, I should also point out that Algorand is actively trying to court the DeFi sector with their unique smart contract language called TEAL. It's a non-Turing complete language which, although it limits functionality, is often considered safer to write and execute. Perhaps it could be an attractive alternative for enterprise developers worried about Solidity smart contracts, for example. Okay, so Algorand is impressive, but why has the price been lagging? Well, I think it mostly comes down to an initial oversupply out of the listing last year. They seem to have sold quite a bit in the early auctions, and when these hit the market, the price slumped. However, they have engaged in a number of buybacks and have redesigned their tokenomics. I should also point out that it is a staking blockchain, which means the more staked, the less circulating supply, all price accretive. So yes, I think Algorand could be an attractive smart contract play next year.